the thing that interested me most, and the reason why this question came up, is Luka Doncic, for what feels like the last 2-3 seasons, maybe coming into every one of the seasons, especially around these parts, but it feels like more around the NBA than, is Luka was looked at as, hey man, on the short list or long list of MVP candidates coming to the season because of what we understand about Luka Doncic. This is a dude that scores buckets. This is a dude that is a playmaker, consummate playmaker, shot creator, all those things. Defense, sometimes optional, but the offense is at such a place, and he is singular in the league to where it's like, he is obviously one of the best players in the league, and thus for the award reserved for the best player on a season, he is going to be in that conversation. It feels like the last few years, that's been more of a conversation to be had before this time of the year. And then once we get to a certain point, that is given, done away with once we start talking about the real MVP candidates, if you know what I mean. Yep. And the question I have for you and everybody listening, 877-881-1053, the text line, Blake, is this a more legitimate, is there an opportunity this year for this season to be a more legitimate MVP case for Luka Doncic? Because the way that he started this year is different.
I don't even know what breath to give it, because the things that Luka is doing is historic. I think the standard is just so high because he has these insane scoring attributes and assist numbers every game, and then we're just like, he didn't have 40 and 15. I guess it was a bad night from Luka. I'm gonna put it simply. I'll read out some stats in a second, but it really comes down to this MVP candidacy winning games. If he finishes top 3 in the West, I think he's got a real shot. If he's 4 or below, we can kiss it goodbye. He can put up all the numbers he wants. In his last 10 games, his lowest point outing is 30. That's his worst game as far as points go. 30. His lowest rebounds is, he had the 3, but other than that, 6. Lowest assist, 4. And that's, if you had 30, 6, and 4, that's some dude's career high. That's his worst in his last 10 games. He's been absolutely carrying this injured, riddled basketball team. And this is a team that even when healthy with Kyrie in them, I wouldn't say this is the best supporting cast in the NBA. So it's still pretty middle of the pack when you got some guys that, wouldn't get minutes on a lot of contending teams, but are getting minutes, and he's able to handle this. So you might be saying, Blake, well, he doesn't do it against the good teams. He only stat pads versus the bottom teams. Well,
I don't know that anybody's bringing up those things when it comes to Luka.
I hear it plenty of times. He just stat pads versus the Blazers, but when he plays the good teams, he doesn't put it up. MVP candidate.
I don't know that you could put that on Luka. Luka be putting the points up regardless. Now, if you want to talk about the entirety of the team, and that's a whole different conversation. But Luka himself,
yep,
like he seems unassailable in the scores buckets portion of the program,
does
right?
Does it not feel just so effortless?
And that's one of the things I actually want to get to is like this year, more than anything, it does feel very effortless. In fact, Luka Doncic was asked after the game, this wasn't yesterday, was it? Yeah. After the game yesterday, Grant Afseth had the video. There was another person asking this question of Luka, though, of just, him having to play more minutes and comparing that to the ways in which Luka Doncic is better prepared for this season.
You say it's not easy, but how much easier is the game for you being in the peak conditioning that you're in?
I mean, it is easier, Lately I've been playing a lot of minutes, but I've been feeling good, just out there playing basketball, so I've been feeling great.
Jason said he's a little concerned about your minutes. Do you have any concern about that?
No.
That was my boy Brad Townsend right there.
There you go. Brad Townsend.
Know that voice anywhere.
But I mean, Luka can say a little bit, like he's not often going to be very verbose, I guess. But one of the things that you get there is like, it is easier, and the question Brad asked is alluding to the ways in which Luka Doncic has been more serious about his conditioning, more serious about his nutrition this season. And you can see it, right? Like, this is a team that has talked about for many seasons, we're going to play faster. And ultimately, you look at the pace numbers, and they're not there. And this team has played faster this year, and Luka Doncic hasn't just done the thing where he hits the ball ahead and slowly makes his way up to meet his teammates. He's pushing the pace in addition to being, like you said, toying with teams. Like when they played against the Blazers, it quite literally looked like he was walking through all of this and was untouchable. And all of these things are to say, right? You look at Luka Doncic, and Luka Doncic is scoring 32.9 points, which is a career high. He also, I believe, is at a career high in efficiency. Assists and rebounds are at an incredible level. Those things are there, but I also want to point to the idea that it seems like he's better conditioned to take this the distance. And and then obviously this team is better positioned when you talk about Kyrie being here and being a part and integrated, assuming that he's healthy, and that's a question we can discuss further. But then also having Derek Lively, a better center when healthy. And I think that this team is better positioned to do the winning that you talk about, to put them in a place where they're close enough, as opposed to like maybe being sixth, maybe tipping towards that fourth, which I think if you're in that conversation of the top teams, now you're in that place where people are willing to consider the absurd numbers that Luka is going to give you throughout the course of the season.
And I just looked at the Kia MVP race ladder, and right
you
now,
don't have to do that. They don't pay you enough
right now Luka,
to mention Kia.
Okay, you're right.
When you talk about the MVP,
Do they even pay you at all?
that's a good point.
Exactly.
The MVP race ladder, I will say, unbranded. They got Luka at number 5.
Okay.
They got Shea ahead of him, Giannis, Jokic, and Joel. And I bring that up because when you're going against top 10 teams, I think that's what really matters. Who cares about the garbage teams? Who averages the most points, Blake, against those teams? Well, we got Shea at 30, Embiid at 29, Jokic at 26, and Giannis at 27. Oh, yeah, Luka's at 37. Okay, maybe assists. He's not passing the ball. Shea's at 6, Embiid's at 7, Jokic at 8.5, Giannis at 4.5, Luka's at 11.5. Rebounds. Luka's still at 7 above Shea, right there with Embiid, 3 behind, and then true shooting percentage, also the highest on the list at 65%, everyone around the mid-60s. So I say that he's not just stat padding, he's taking care of it against the better defensive rated teams in the league. It just takes more a team effort. When you have guys where Dante Exum, I love Dante, great addition, but when he's your second option,
well, but I think
you can't put the most output that you need to compete with these teams.
Yeah, but I think that in that instance, you're being a little narrow-sided in that, because we're talking about he's your second option right now, and that has more to do with the injuries than anything else.
I know, but I think they're taking that into vote. Well, they lost. Like on here, the reason they say he lost is that they snapped a 4-game losing streak and lost to the Timberwolves.
And look, I think also some of that is like, we got to remember that ultimately the MVP will be decided way later in the season, so we have to take a more holistic view. The one thing, and I as I say that, I'm going to talk about a metric that we have as of right now that will continue to change. However, one of the things that is very closely tied in to MVP is win shares per 48. Now, win shares is a kind of a advanced analytic that's kind of close to WAR in baseball, right? Or not even WAR. WAR. And so it gets kind of close to that, the wins that you're kind of creating in a way. And then, of course, they do that per 48 minutes to kind of average this out in a way that is more palatable across. And that is really nicely correlated to at least those people that are going to be high up in the conversation. And honestly, it correlates pretty nicely to the MVP winners. And as of right now in the 2023-2024 season, Luka is not first, not second, not third, not fourth, not fifth, not sixth, not seventh, not eighth, not ninth, not 10th in win share per 48.
Who's top 3?
Top 3 currently, Joel Embiid, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic.
I like Shai.
And so I think that's the one thing that concerns me more than anything, is that at this point, he's not at that place. But I'm very intrigued to see if everything is back where you're in a position of health, if that changes, because I do think he's better positioned. However, I'm very much currently looking at this place where it feels like this might be another one of those seasons where you look at the statistics that we laid out, which are very good, and you look at the ways in which he's incredible at scoring, and qualitatively you look at him and you're like, this dude's incredible. But quantitatively and ultimately, when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, once we get to March and April, that he's not going to be having a real MVP candidacy again, which is really, I think, disappointing. Not necessarily for Luka himself, but just like in a general sense of, you have a player who is undoubtedly a top 5, just for argument's sake, top 7 player or in the league, that is not even truly really in the conversation for MVP.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it does come down to win shares, like you said, winning basketball, playing defense, being able to get the whole team around you. And I just feel like in the situation that he's in, he's doing the most that he can. He came in shape this year. You know, I felt like he's played a lot better defense than people give him credit for this year. He's never going to be a lockdown defender like a Giannis or Joel Embiid in the paint or anything like that. That's not what they're paying him for. They're paying him for offensive output and getting this team going. And I just feel like the tribulations that this team in the recent years and this year has been put through is not anything we could say about Shea or Giannis or Jokic. Actually, I'll take it back. I'll give it back with Jokic because Jamal Murray was out this year and he still kind of kept them afloat, even though Jokic had a tough little stretch of scoring and whatnot. So, like you said, it's going to come down to the end of the season who's able to keep their team afloat. And I think if he's in that top 3, top 4 seed in the West, that he'll be one of the top 3 contenders, and some of these other guys may fall off based on efficiency and win shares. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we're a quarter way through the season, or over a quarter way through the season in the National Basketball Association.